Thunder rolled over the sprawling glass mansion as Raymond Hale slammed the door behind him. "Where are they?" he barked, dropping his briefcase on the marble floor. No one answered. The housekeeper froze in the hallway, clutching a stack of towels. "Sir, the girls are upstairs. They haven't eaten yet." Raymond loosened his tie, frustration twisting his face. "Again? It's been 2 years, for heaven's sake! 2 years!" He stormed up the spiral staircase, each footstep echoing in the lonely house. In the twins' room, 2 little girls sat on the edge of their beds, identical in face and sadness. Their dolls lay untouched. Lila clutched a photo of their late mother. Lily stared blankly at the rain-streaked window. "Girls," Raymond began, forcing cheer into his voice, "your tutors will be here tomorrow. Maybe some art lessons." Neither child looked up. His words fell flat like stones dropped into a bottomless well. Raymond sighed and left the room, shoulders heavy. Downstairs, his friend and personal advisor Marcus waited in the living room. "You can't keep doing this, Ray," he said gently. "You're trying to buy their happiness. That's not how grief works." Raymond rubbed his temples. "Then what works, Marcus? Money can build hospitals, fund research, save lives, but it can't make my own children smile." Marcus hesitated. "There's someone I want you to meet. She's not the usual type, no fancy resume, but she connects with children who've gone through trauma. Her name's Maria." "Another nanny?" Raymond scoffed. "I've hired 7 since Clara's death. None lasted 2 weeks." "This one will," Marcus said simply. "Trust me." That night, Raymond barely slept. Memories of the accident haunted him. The flashing lights, the twisted car, Clara's hand slipping from his. He'd promised he would keep their daughters safe and happy. So why did the house feel colder with every passing day? The next morning, Maria arrived. She was quiet, dressed modestly in grey, her eyes soft but unreadable. A faint scar traced her left wrist. "Mr. Hale," she said, bowing slightly. "Thank you for giving me a chance." Raymond studied her. "Marcus speaks highly of you. The girls are delicate. Don't expect them to talk much." "I understand." Maria moved through the mansion silently, noting details others ignored. The untouched piano, the dust gathering on framed family photos, the faint smell of lilies, the same flowers placed on the grave every week. Upstairs she knocked softly. "Hello, little ones. I'm Maria." No reply. Lila turned her face away. Lily tightened her grip on the photo. Maria smiled gently. "Your mother was beautiful," she whispered. "I like lilies too." Something flickered in Lily's eyes, but she said nothing. Maria set down a tray. "I made cookies. Not perfect, but they smell like sunshine." She left the plate and quietly stepped out. From the doorway, she heard a tiny crunch, one bite, a small victory. Over the next few days, Maria kept her distance but stayed consistent. She hummed soft melodies while cleaning, simple tunes that filled the silence like warm light. She folded blankets with care, left little origami animals on the girls' desks, and never asked questions they didn't want to answer. One afternoon, she noticed a torn storybook under the bed, The Silver Queen and Her 2 Daughters. She carefully mended its pages and placed it on the nightstand. That evening, she read aloud softly while dusting nearby, pretending not to watch their reactions. "And when the Queen was gone," she read, "her daughters stopped singing, but the wind still carried their laughter, waiting for them to find it again." Lila's lip quivered. She hid beneath the covers, but a small hand reached out toward the sound of Maria's voice. When Raymond returned that night, he noticed something odd. The girls were asleep, peacefully. Their faces looked lighter, softer. He found Maria in the kitchen, washing dishes. "What did you do?" he asked bluntly. "Nothing special, sir. Just told them a story." His tone hardened. "I pay you to care for them, not fill their heads with fantasies." Maria looked at him calmly. "Sometimes stories are medicine." He opened his mouth to retort, but something in her eyes stopped him, an ache that mirrored his own. Days turned into a week. Small changes began to ripple through the house. The girls started eating together again. Once, Raymond even heard giggling through the closed door. One morning, while passing the garden, he saw Maria sitting cross-legged on the grass, weaving flower crowns as the twins watched shyly from the balcony. It was the first time they'd left their room voluntarily. Raymond paused, caught between disbelief and relief. Later at dinner, Lila whispered, "Daddy, can we have dinner with Maria tomorrow?" Raymond nearly dropped his fork. Do you want her to join us?" Both girls nodded. It was the first time they had spoken in full sentences since Clara's death. He agreed instantly. That night, as he lay awake, he allowed himself a small, fragile smile. Maybe finally, things were changing. The next evening, Maria joined them for dinner. She was warm but humble, keeping conversation light. Raymond watched her carefully, the way she listened, the way the twins leaned toward her like flowers toward sunlight. After the meal, Maria excused herself. The twins ran upstairs, giggling. Raymond sat back, astonished. "Marcus was right," he murmured. "She's a miracle worker." Marcus, who had dropped by for a drink, chuckled. Sometimes healing doesn't come from therapists or wealth. Sometimes it's just someone who understands pain. Raymond frowned. "Understand pain?" Marcus hesitated. "Maria has been through her own losses." "What kind of losses?" She never said. Later that night, Raymond passed Maria's quarters and noticed the door slightly open. A faint light flickered inside. On her desk lay an old photograph, its edges worn. He almost called out but froze when he saw it clearly. The picture showed his late wife, Clara, smiling beside another woman who looked exactly like Maria. Raymond's breath caught, his hand tightened on the doorknob. Before he could step closer, Maria turned, eyes meeting him. "Mr. Hale," she said softly. "Is something wrong?" he stammered. "That photo, where did you get it?" Maria looked down at it, then back up, expression unreadable. "Some stories are meant to unfold slowly," she whispered. She closed the book she'd been reading and turned off the lamp. "Good night, sir." Raymond stood frozen in the hallway. The image burned into his mind. Somewhere deep inside, a question began to form, one he wasn't sure he wanted answered. Raymond couldn't sleep. The image of that photograph glowed behind his eyelids every time he closed them. Clara smiling, her arm around a woman who looked just like Maria. Same gentle eyes, same scar on the wrist. By sunrise, he was sitting in his study, the photo he'd secretly taken from her desk lying on the table beside a cold cup of coffee. "Who are you really, Maria?" he muttered. He opened his laptop and typed her name into the background check portal his security team used for staff hires. Nothing suspicious, no criminal record, no former employment data older than 5 years, almost too clean. He scrolled further. Birth records, adoption registries. His pulse quickened when he saw a name, Maria Lopez, born the same hospital, same year as Clara Evans. His heart skipped. Could it be a coincidence? A soft knock interrupted his thoughts. "Sir?" Maria's voice drifted through the door. "The girls are ready for breakfast." He hesitated. "I'll be down in a moment." She lingered. "They made you something. Pancakes. You shouldn't let them get cold." When the footsteps faded, Raymond exhaled sharply. He pocketed the photo and stood, his mind swirling with questions he wasn't ready to face. At breakfast, the twins were laughing, actually laughing, as Maria poured syrup and told a story about a baker who accidentally created pancakes that made people tell the truth. Raymond tried to smile, but the sound of their laughter twisted something in his chest. Lila looked up. "Daddy, why aren't you eating?" He forced a grin. "Just enjoying the show." Maria met his eyes briefly. There was warmth there, and something else, a shadow of knowing. After the meal, Raymond asked her to join him in the garden. The morning air smelled of rain and lilies. "You've done wonders for the girls," he said carefully. Maria smiled. They only needed a little light. He studied her. "And what about you? Where does your light come from, Maria?" She blinked, caught off guard. "I try to find it where I can." "Like in old photographs?" he asked softly. Her posture stiffened. "You went through my things. You left your door open." Her eyes hardened, but her voice stayed calm. "Then you've seen it. I suppose you want an explanation." "I deserve one," he said, crossing his arms. "My wife, Clara, was in the picture. You knew her." Maria looked toward the fountain, silent for a long time. "Yes, I knew her." "How?" Finally she turned back. "She was my sister." Raymond's breath hitched. "Sister? My half-sister," Maria said quietly. "We shared the same mother, different fathers. Clara grew up in comfort. I didn't. She never knew I existed until we met by chance at a hospital fundraiser 8 years ago." Raymond stared. "She never told me." "She didn't know how," Maria said. "She was afraid you'd see her differently. She thought you'd think she was lying to gain sympathy." He sank onto a bench, mind spinning. "So all this time you came here pretending to be a stranger?" Maria's eyes glistened. "I didn't come to deceive you. I came because after she died, I couldn't stay away. I needed to make sure her daughters, the only pieces of her left, were okay. The words landed heavy between them. Raymond looked down at his hands. You should have told me. Would you have hired me if I had? She asked softly. He didn't answer. That night, Raymond stood in his wife's old studio. Canvases covered in dust leaned against the walls. A single unfinished painting rested on the easel, two girls playing by a lake. Maria entered quietly, a tray of tea in her hands. I didn't mean to keep secrets, she said, but when I saw how broken the girls were, I thought it was better this way. He turned to her. And what about me? You've been living under my roof, knowing who I am, what she meant to me. Do you have any idea what that feels like? Maria's voice trembled. Every day. But I couldn't risk being turned away, not until they healed. For a moment, neither spoke. Rain tapped against the tall windows. Finally, Raymond sighed. You're good with them. I can't deny that, but I need time to process this. I understand. She turned to leave, then paused. Clara loved you, you know. She told me once that you were her safe place. Don't lose that because of me. When she was gone, Raymond stood there, staring at the half-finished painting. For the first time, he noticed 3 faint outlines on the canvas, 2 small figures beside a taller one that Clara had never completed. Maybe she'd meant to paint Maria too. Over the next week, the house felt heavier. The girls were cheerful, but tension simmered between the adults. Raymond found himself studying Maria when she wasn't looking, the way she brushed Lila's hair, how she always touched her scar when nervous. One evening, Marcus stopped by. Raymond poured him a drink and told him everything. Marcus listened quietly, then said, It explains a lot. She has the same calm as Clara. I can't decide if I'm angry or grateful, Raymond admitted. Maybe both, Marcus said. But if she's genuine, you owe her a chance. Raymond nodded, though doubt still gnawed at him. The next morning, he woke to laughter outside. From his balcony, he saw Maria and the twins chasing each other across the lawn, sunlight catching their hair. The sight warmed something deep inside him. Maybe, he thought, the truth wasn't always meant to destroy. He went downstairs, intending to apologize, when he noticed Maria's phone buzzing on the counter. A message flashed on the screen. Did he find out yet? Raymond froze. Another message followed. Remember why you're there. Don't mess this up. The warmth drained from his chest, replaced by a cold weight of suspicion. That night, after the twins were asleep, he confronted her in the hallway. Who's messaging you, Maria? She looked startled. It's no one important. Don't lie to me. Her shoulders straightened. It's personal. It doesn't show up on my kitchen counter. His tone sharpened. Who are you really working for? I told you. He cut her off. You've already hidden one truth from me. How many more are there? Maria's face paled. Please, not here. The girls might hear. Then start talking. For a moment, she said nothing. Then, quietly, you're not ready for the answer. She turned and walked away, leaving him alone in the dark hallway, heart pounding. As the door closed behind her, Raymond felt that familiar hollow ache return, but now it carried something new. Fear. The woman who had brought life back into his home might not be there out of love after all. The next morning, the mansion was filled with the quiet hum of routine, footsteps echoing down marble halls, the soft clatter of breakfast being served, the faint sound of birds outside the glass walls. But for Maria, every movement felt heavier. Her hands shook slightly as she poured orange juice for the twins. Good morning, Miss Lily. Miss Emma, she greeted softly, forcing a small smile. The girls looked up from their pancakes, both wearing identical frowns. That same look of wary curiosity they had every time someone new tried to talk to them. But then, Lily did something unexpected. She pushed her glass toward Maria. You forgot the straw, she said, almost whispering. Maria froze, then smiled. Oh, you're right, thank you for reminding me. Emma giggled, just once. A small, fleeting sound, but it made Maria's eyes sting. From the other side of the dining room, Mr. Anderson paused mid-sip of his coffee. His gaze snapped toward his daughters. Did she just laugh? The butler Henry raised his brows. It seems so, sir. The billionaire stood slowly, his expensive suit crisp and flawless. He walked to the table and crouched beside his daughters. Girls, he said softly, his voice trembling, you laughed? Lily's face turned red. It was just as Mr. Anderson turned toward Maria, his expression unreadable. "Miss Maria, what exactly did you say?" "I only forgot a straw, sir," she replied nervously, hands twisting around the napkin. Something flickered behind his cold exterior, a spark of curiosity. For months, no therapist, no relative, no caretaker had managed to make the girls react. Yet this quiet maid did it accidentally in her second week. "Maria," he said, "I want you to spend more time with them. Read to them, play with them. Whatever you do, keep doing it." Maria's lips parted slightly. "Of course, sir." She could feel his gaze linger on her as she turned away. He didn't know why, but something about her voice, something in her mannerisms, stirred memories he thought he'd buried. Later that evening, when the twins had gone to bed, Maria walked down the dim hallway carrying a folded blanket. She stopped in front of the large family portrait, Mr. Anderson, his wife Isabella and the twins, taken before the tragedy. Isabella's face stared back at her, elegant and glowing. The resemblance was haunting. Maria lifted a trembling hand, tracing the outline of her sister's smile. "You never told him about me," she whispered. "You kept me in the shadows, and now I'm here, pretending to be someone else." A tear slid down her cheek. She quickly wiped it away when she heard footsteps behind her. Admiring the portrait? It was Henry, the butler, standing with a tray of wine glasses. Maria forced a small smile. "It's beautiful. Mrs. Anderson was very loved." "She was," Henry replied softly. His eyes lingered on her. "You remind me of her sometimes." Maria's heart stopped. "Do I?" He nodded slowly. "The way you hum when you work. She used to do that too. Funny how certain people bring back ghosts." Maria looked down. "Ghosts can be comforting," she said. Henry gave a knowing smile but didn't press further. "Get some rest, Miss Maria. Tomorrow will be a busy day." When he left, Maria leaned against the wall, exhaling shakily. She'd been careful, changing her hair, using a false name, altering her accent slightly. But no disguise could hide the truth forever. The next day brought new changes. The twins were beginning to open up, small smiles, questions, even laughter. Maria's warmth was breaking the ice around their hearts. They spent afternoons in the garden, feeding the fish, painting under the oak tree. One afternoon, Emma ran toward her father, waving a drawing. "Daddy, look!" Miss Maria helped us make a rainbow. Mr. Anderson crouched to take the paper. For a brief moment his face softened. "That's beautiful, sweetheart." He looked at Maria again. "You really have a way with them." She smiled modestly. "They're wonderful girls, sir." He hesitated, then said quietly, "You remind me of someone. My late wife, Isabella." Maria's heart dropped. She had the same calm presence, he continued, staring at her closely. The same eyes, too. Maria looked away. "That's kind of you to say." Mr. Anderson's expression darkened slightly, suspicion creeping in. "Where did you say you worked before this?" Maria swallowed. "I was with a family in Boston, sir. Their children moved abroad, so I had to find new work." He nodded slowly, but his eyes didn't leave her face. "Boston, you say? Isabella grew up there too?" Maria forced a polite smile. Small world. But inside, panic was rising. He was connecting dots she didn't want him to. That night, Maria sat alone in her small room at the far end of the mansion. She took out a small, worn photograph from a wooden box, two girls, identical in face, smiling in front of a seaside cottage. "Bella," she whispered, voice cracking, "you left me to live your perfect life, and now I'm raising your children. Maybe that's what fate wanted." Suddenly there was a knock on the door. She hid the photo quickly. "Maria?" It was Mr. Anderson. "May I come in?" Her throat went dry. "Yes, sir." He stepped inside, his presence commanding even in casual clothes. His gaze drifted over the humble room before landing on her face. "I found something in the library today. An old family album." Maria froze. "There was a photo," he continued quietly. "Isabella and another woman who looked exactly like her. Do you know who that might be?" Maria's breath hitched. He took a step closer, his tone darkening. "You're hiding something, aren't you, Maria?" For a long moment, silence filled the room. Only the sound of the rain tapping on the window. Then softly Maria said, "Some secrets are better left buried, sir." Mr. Anderson's jaw tightened. "Not in my house." The silence between them thickened. Mr. Anderson's sharp gaze didn't leave Maria's trembling form. The soft ticking of the grandfather clock in the hall echoed like thunder. Maria finally broke eye contact, clutching her apron. "Please, sir, I never meant to deceive you." Then tell me the truth, he demanded, voice low and rough. Who are you? Her lips parted, but before she could speak, a small cry came from the hallway. Emma's frightened voice. Daddy? Mr. Anderson's anger dissolved instantly. He turned toward the sound. Emma stood at the doorway in her pyjamas, clutching her teddy bear. I had a nightmare, she whimpered. Can Miss Maria stay with me? Maria looked at him helplessly. His jaw tightened, torn between suspicion and his daughter's trembling lip. Go, he said finally. We'll talk later. Maria nodded gratefully and followed Emma down the hall. Inside the girls' room, the soft glow of a nightlight illuminated the pastel walls. Lily was awake now too, sitting up with wide, curious eyes. Did Daddy scold you? Lily whispered. Maria smiled faintly, brushing Emma's hair back. No, sweetheart, he's just worried about you both. Emma sniffled. Mommy used to sing when we had nightmares. Maria's throat tightened. Would you like me to sing? The twins nodded and she began humming, a soft, lilting tune filled with aching familiarity. The melody drifted through the room like smoke, settling deep in the girls' hearts. Their eyes slowly fluttered shut, but outside the half-closed door, Mr. Anderson stood frozen. His breath caught as he recognized the song. It was Isabella's lullaby. He stepped back, confusion and disbelief twisting in his chest. How could she know that song? Isabella had written it herself, never recorded it, never shared it beyond their family. He walked back to his study, pouring himself a drink. The storm outside cracked the sky with light. Who are you, Maria? He whispered to the empty room. Hours later, when the mansion slept, Maria returned to her room. Her hands were still shaking. She sat by the window, the moonlight catching the tears on her cheeks. Why did you marry him, Bella? She murmured to the photo she kept hidden. You knew I loved him first. Her voice broke. You had everything, the life, the love, the family, and I was left with nothing. But now, fate has brought me back. The next morning, she pretended nothing had happened, but she could feel Mr. Anderson's eyes following her at breakfast, heavy with questions. Maria, he said quietly as the twins ran off to play. I'd like to speak with you this evening, privately. Yes, sir, she said, her stomach twisting. The day passed in slow motion. Every sound, every glance, every smile from the children carried a bittersweet weight. By dusk, when she entered his study, the air was thick with unease. The firelight cast long shadows on the walls. Mr. Anderson was standing by the window holding a photograph, the same one from the album. I did some searching, he said without turning. Your employment records in Boston, they don't exist. There's no trace of you before 6 months ago. Maria's voice was barely a whisper. You looked into me? I had to, he said, turning to face her. My daughters have already lost their mother. I can't risk them getting attached to someone with secrets. Maria's eyes glistened. Secrets aren't always dangerous, sir. He stepped closer, holding up the photo. Then explain this. Who is she? Maria stared at the image, Isabella in her wedding dress, and beside her a bridesmaid who looked exactly the same. That's, she began, then stopped, voice trembling. That's you, isn't it? He pressed. You were there all along. Tears welled in her eyes. Yes, she whispered finally, but not as Maria. My name is Marissa. Isabella was my twin sister. Mr. Anderson staggered back as if struck. Twin sister? She never told you, Maria said bitterly. She was ashamed of me. We grew up in the same orphanage. When we were 10, a wealthy family adopted her, not me. She got the life I could only dream of. Years later, I found her again. She had everything. Your love, this mansion, 2 beautiful daughters. Her voice broke. She promised she'd help me one day, but that day never came. Mr. Anderson's hands clenched into fists. Why didn't you tell me who you were when you came here? Maria took a shaky breath. Because I knew you'd never let me stay. I only wanted to be close to the girls, to her memory. They're all I have left of her. For a long moment, neither spoke. The fire crackled between them, throwing restless shadows across their faces. Mr. Anderson finally said, You lied to me. You lied to them. I did, Maria admitted, tears streaming freely now, but not to hurt anyone, to heal, to make them smile again. He stared at her, torn between anger and understanding. You've changed them, he said softly. I can't deny that, but you've also broken my trust. Maria lowered her gaze. Then dismiss me, sir, if that's what you want. He turned away, jaw tightening. Not yet. She blinked. What? I want the truth about everything, he said coldly. Why you came here, what you wanted, and what you're still hiding. Because something tells me this isn't the whole story. Maria's lips trembled. She wanted to deny it, to walk away, but his tone left no room for escape. Tomorrow, he said, voice final. You'll tell me everything. When he left, Maria sank to the floor, her sobs muffled against her apron. The firelight flickered over her face, revealing the torment behind her secret. In her trembling hands, she held another photo, one even darker than the last. It showed Isabella and Marissa together on the day accident, but in this one, a piece was missing, torn from the corner where a third person once stood. Maria whispered to the empty room, "You think you know the truth, Mr. Anderson, but you don't know what really happened that night." The thunder outside rumbled again, louder, closer, as if warning that the storm was far from over. The next morning broke grey and heavy, the sky a dull wash of clouds pressing over the mansion's roof. Maria hadn't slept. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her mind replaying the confrontation again and again. She dressed slowly, her hands unsteady. Downstairs the twins' laughter floated faintly from the garden. That sound, so bright and innocent, cut through her fog of fear. For a moment she let herself smile. At least they're happy now. But the thought twisted quickly. Mr. Anderson's words from last night echoed, "Tomorrow you'll tell me everything." She had to leave before then. Maria walked to the library, meaning only to say goodbye to the portrait of Isabella before she disappeared for good. But as she reached up to touch the frame, her fingers brushed something odd behind it, a thin edge of paper wedged in the wooden backing. Curious, she tugged gently. Out came a small envelope, yellowed with age, sealed with a faded red wax mark she recognized instantly. Her breath caught. The wax bore a tiny symbol, 2 intertwined roses, the mark Isabella used whenever she wrote letters to her. Maria's trembling hands tore the seal. Inside was a single folded page in Isabella's neat handwriting. Open quote, "My dearest Marissa, if you're reading this, something has happened to me. I've hidden this letter where only someone who knows me truly would look, behind our wedding portrait. There are things you must understand before the truth destroys you. I never told Jonathan about you because I was afraid he would look at you and see me, and that he would feel betrayed for all I'd kept from him. I thought I could protect both of you by keeping you apart. But lately, I've felt the past pressing closer. Someone knows, Marissa. Someone found out about us. If anything happens to me, promise me one thing. Take care of the girls. Don't let them grow up in the shadows the way we did. With love, always, Bella." Close quote, and Maria's heart pounded. She pressed the letter to her chest, tears spilling freely. "You knew," she whispered. "You knew someone was coming for you." Behind her, a quiet voice said, "Maria?" She spun around. It was Lily, standing in the doorway with a half-eaten cookie in her hand. "What's that?" the little girl asked. Maria quickly folded the letter and smiled. "Just something your mommy wrote a long time ago. Can you read it to us?" Maria's throat tightened. "Maybe later, sweetheart. It's a little sad." Lily nodded solemnly. "That's okay. Daddy says sad stories can still be beautiful." That line nearly broke Maria. When Lily ran off, Maria sank into the armchair by the fire. Her mind was racing. If Isabella had feared someone knew about them, who could it have been? And what did that person want? Her thoughts were interrupted when Henry the butler entered quietly with a tray. "Miss Maria, Mr. Anderson asked me to remind you. He'd like to see you after lunch." She stiffened. "Thank you, Henry." He lingered. "You look pale. Is everything all right?" Maria hesitated, studying him. For years Henry had been with the family. He'd known Isabella since her wedding. Could he? "Have you heard about the twins?" She forced a polite smile. "I'm fine, thank you." When he left, her pulse quickened. There was no way to be sure, but the timing of the letter's warning and Henry's subtle glances lately made her uneasy. Later that day, the rain returned. Mr. Anderson waited in the study, his expression unreadable as Maria entered, clutching the folded letter in her apron pocket. "Sit down," he said. She obeyed, her heart hammering. "I've been thinking," he began. "What you told me last night, it doesn't explain everything. I found something else. Records from the hospital." "Right, you visited Isabella 2 weeks before he paused, his voice tight. "Before the accident." Maria's eyes widened. "You found that?" "Why didn't you tell me?" he demanded. Tears welled in her eyes. Because I promised her I wouldn't. She didn't want you to know. Didn't want me to know what? Maria took a shaky breath and pulled out the letter. This. She handed it to him with trembling hands. He hesitated before unfolding it. As his eyes scanned the handwriting, his expression shifted from suspicion to shock, then sorrow. She wrote this, he whispered. Maria nodded. She was afraid. She wanted to tell you about me, but someone threatened her. She thought keeping it secret would protect you. Mr. Anderson sank into the chair behind his desk, running a hand through his hair. I thought I knew everything about her, but this changes everything. Maria swallowed. She loved you. She loved the girls. She didn't mean to deceive you. Ow! He looked up slowly. And you? Why did you come here? Her voice trembled. Because after she was gone, I felt lost. Then I remembered her last words to me, that if anything happened to her, I should take care of the girls. So I came. I couldn't stay away. He stared at her for a long moment, the firelight dancing between them. The anger in his eyes faded, replaced by something else. Confusion, maybe even compassion. You've done more for them in a month than I managed in a year, he said finally. You brought them back to life, Maria. Maybe Bella was right to trust you. Maria looked down, overwhelmed. I only did what she asked me to. For a brief, fragile moment, peace settled between them. The storm outside quieted. The twins' laughter echoed faintly through the hall again like a fragile melody threading through the pain. But the calm didn't last. As Maria stood to leave, Henry appeared at the door, his voice too calm. Excuse me, sir. A package arrived for Miss Maria. Mr. Anderson frowned. For her? Henry handed her a small, unmarked envelope. Maria's pulse spiked. She tore it open, revealing a single sheet with one sentence typed in bold letters. You found her letter. Now you know what happens next. Maria's breath caught. Mr. Anderson stood sharply. What is it? She crumpled the paper in her hand, forcing a trembling smile. Nothing, sir. Just a mistake. But deep down she knew. The letter had only opened the door to something far more dangerous. And somewhere in the mansion, a shadow lingered, watching them both. That night the mansion felt colder than usual. The corridors whispered with draughts, the chandeliers swayed ever so slightly, and every shadow seemed to breathe. Maria couldn't sleep. The words from the anonymous note echoed in her mind. You found her letter. Now you know what happens next. She sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the crumpled paper on the nightstand. Who are you? She whispered. What do you want? Outside, thunder rolled again. Then a soft knock. Maria? It was Mr. Anderson. His tone carried both concern and something else, fear. She opened the door. Sir, I can't stop thinking about that package, he said quietly. You're not safe here. Neither are my daughters. Her heart pounded. Do you think whoever sent it was the same person Isabella feared? He nodded grimly. I do. They moved to the study where the fire cast uneasy light across the walls. Maria laid out the letter and the new note on the desk. The handwriting was identical to the old family staff logs Henry kept locked in the basement archive. Mr. Anderson's eyes darkened. There's only one person who had access to those. Henry, Maria whispered. Just then, the study door creaked open. Henry stepped in, holding a tray of tea, his expression unreadable. You asked for refreshments, sir? No? Mr. Anderson said. Close the door. Henry hesitated, then obeyed. Maria's pulse raced. She could feel the tension rising in the room like static. Where did you get this? Mr. Anderson asked, holding up the anonymous note. Henry's polite smile faltered. I'm not sure what you mean. Don't play games, Maria said, voice trembling but firm. You've been watching me since the day I arrived. Henry exhaled slowly, setting the tray down. I wasn't watching you, Miss Maria. I was watching her memory. Mr. Anderson frowned. Explain yourself. Henry's eyes flicked toward the portrait on the wall. Your wife knew more than she told you. Before the accident, she came to me for help. She'd discovered that the business merger your company was about to sign wasn't clean. People were laundering money through it. She planned to expose them, but then she died. Mr. Anderson's face went pale. Are you saying? She asked me to keep her secrets safe, Henry interrupted. When I realized Maria was her twin, I feared whoever silenced Isabella would come for her too. So I sent that note, to warn her, to warn you both. Maria staggered back. You sent it? Henry nodded. I thought if you knew someone else was watching, you'd take the girls and leave. But you stayed. Mr. Anderson stared at the letter in his hands, the puzzle finally clicking into place. All this time I blamed you for lying, Maria, when you were protecting them. And you, he turned to Henry, voice shaking. You could have told me the truth. Henry's eyes softened. And risk the killer learning that I knew? No, sir. I kept quiet until I was sure who could be trusted. Now that you've both read her letter, you understand how deep this goes. Lightning flashed, briefly illuminating the room. Maria's gaze moved to the photo on the desk. Isabella smiling, her hand resting on Jonathan's shoulder, Henry standing behind them. For the first time, she saw the fear hiding in Isabella's eyes. She was trying to protect you, Maria whispered, and now we have to protect the girls. Mr. Anderson nodded, determination replacing shock. Tomorrow I'll have every file from that merger reviewed. Whoever was behind it will pay for what they did. Henry gave a grave nod. Be careful, sir. These are powerful people. Hours later, after everyone had gone to bed, Maria stood once more before the family portrait. The fire had gone out, only embers glowed faintly in the grate. She reached up and touched Isabella's painted face. I kept my promise, Bella, she whispered. They're smiling again. Then she turned to leave, but paused when she heard tiny footsteps. Lily stood at the doorway, holding her blanket. Miss Maria, she said sleepily. Daddy says you'll stay with us forever. Maria knelt, her eyes misting. As long as you want me to, sweetheart. Lily smiled and threw her arms around her neck. You sound like Mommy when you say that. Maria hugged her tightly, tears slipping down her cheek. Maybe because she's still here, with both of us. When Lily padded back to bed, Maria glanced once more at the portrait. For a fleeting second, she could almost swear Isabella's smile in the painting had softened. No longer haunted, but peaceful. The storm outside faded, leaving only the soft hum of rain. In that quiet, Maria whispered the last words her sister had written. Don't let them grow up in the shadows. She wouldn't. Weeks later, the Anderson estate was brighter than it had been in years. The girls' laughter filled every room. Mr. Anderson had exposed the corruption Isabella had uncovered, clearing her name. Henry retired quietly, his loyalty finally acknowledged. And Marissa stayed. No longer a maid, but part of the family she'd once only watched from afar. Sometimes at dusk, she'd sit by the window with the twins, telling them stories about courage, forgiveness, and the light that comes after loss. Her voice, calm and steady, carried through the halls. Open quote, and remember, she would say, even the darkest secrets can lead us back to the truth. Close quote, the girls would smile, the same way their mother once did, and the camera would slowly pull back, capturing the warmth, the healing, and the faint echo of Isabella's lullaby humming through the air. If you love this story, don't forget to like, comment your favourite moment, and subscribe to Echoverse Stories for more unforgettable tales of mystery, love, and redemption.